Welcome to an audiobook entitled Parish Management and Operations, The Buck Stops Here, narrated by Catholic author Michael Brinda. We hope you enjoy the segment and find it useful in your ministerial work.
Chapter 59, On Rejection and Failure. Oh, wait. You didn't hear any answers to the previous questions? No, how to reach people who have quit on their faith list of ideas? Why is that? Because to present you with a list of outside-the-box ideas not of your own creation is to invite the same eye rolls, head shaking, rejection, and ridicule many superior ideas first receive. Such a list of communications ideas will predictably be viewed as absurd, ridiculous, stupid, choose whatever descriptor you want, by small-minded, risk-averse people, of which there is no shortage in the world. Most people are not internally equipped to handle the ridicule and rejection of their ideas, so they quit trying and remain silent before they ever get started, a deadly trait in any PMO administrator. But what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Have you ever looked at a challenge through this lens? What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Here's a key point. The man who chooses not to read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. The corollary observation in our present context: the man who cannot fail is the same as the man who can fail but does not care. What if you replace dwelling on the what-if consequences of failure with, so what? What if you accepted the fact some ideas will not work, and failure is simply the price of admission to discovering ideas that will work? Actually, the dumbest and worst thing I could do for you is to supply here a list of communications ideas and initiatives. Why? Because the default position of most folks places such ideas in the trash bin of, I categorically reject all non-traditional thinking, and I especially reject anything that I deem crazy, experimental, radical, ridiculous, or risky to the reputation I have slaved for years to build as someone who never fails, much less fails in a public or spectacular manner. Such people will simply ignore what is on any such list anyway, whether presented here, now, or later, as too stupid, too risky, to their career, or to whatever they try. They choose to try nothing new instead of being compelled by a dark but objective reality, the recognition their parish house is on fire and being decimated by attrition. Overly cautious people utterly refuse to think outside the box to discover their idea, or their approval of someone else's idea is actually a superior road to follow. But superior PMO administrators do not give a fig if they get knocked down and fail. They just get back up and try something else. A quote from Carlo Rubbia, Nobel Prize-winning physicist. I don't believe I have special talents. I have persistence. After the first failure, second failure, third failure, I kept trying. End quote. Here is what I know. I know I don't have all the bright ideas or solution about anything, especially when it comes to communicating with people who have quit on their faith and the church. But you might. People in a neighboring parish might. People in some other diocese might. People on your communications marketing board might. I have been down this road many times before, and the creative thinker and his or her idea is often dismissed by the small-minded person, unfortunately holding a position of authority over them, either for no reason at all or one or more reasons cited above. However, this point is paramount. The idea will be born if you insist it be born, and this is the first key. Do not quit. After you have an idea in hand that is legal, ethical, moral, and ready to implement, You must insist on running with it over and through all obstacles and objections placed in your way. The only person who gains when you do nothing is the person named status quo. And how are the results of the status quo working for us in the church today? What do the statistics show on church attendance and attrition? What is trending? Do not allow eye rolls, criticism, or the possibility of public failure to stop you. For example, listed alphabetically: Mike Brinda founded New Horizons Computer Learning Centers with 10 dual floppy IBM PCs in 1982, before the era of the ubiquitous personal computer, tablet, smartphone, or the invention of the Internet. His immediate family and 12 banks refused to loan him a dime. He remortgaged his house to get started. Bankers, family, friends, and co-workers all told him he was crazy to quit a lifetime good job that he had at the time. And then what happened? Walt Disney, fired from the Kansas City Star newspaper because the editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He went bankrupt several times before he built Disneyland. In fact, the proposed park was rejected by the city of Anaheim on the grounds that it would only attract riffraff. And then what happened? Stephen King. King's most famous and most renowned book, Carrie, was rejected 30 times. King decided to toss the book, but his wife went through the trash to rescue it and convinced him to resubmit it. And then what happened? Claude Monet. While alive, Monet's work was mocked and rejected by the artistic elite, the Paris Salon. And then what happened? Check the appreciated value of his works today. Babe Ruth. His home run record is 714 during his career, but he still had a total of 1,330 strikeouts. At one point, he held the record for strikeout. He once said, "Every strike brings me closer to the next home run." Dr. Seuss. 27 publishers rejected his first book, To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. And then what happened? Fred Smith, founder of Federal Express, received a C on his college paper detailing his idea for a reliable overnight delivery service. His professor at Yale, who should have immediately quit his job to back the plan, told him, "Well, Fred, the concept is interesting and well-formed, but in order to earn a better than a C grade, your ideas also have to be feasible." And then what happened? But wait, there are even more consequences to explore. Here's a fair question. What about the feel and texture of consequences derived from timid, wrong-headed decisions that lack the necessary and prerequisite vision demanded of decision-makers? One example, Blockbuster refused to buy Netflix for $50 million. Netflix is now worth many billions. And where is Blockbuster today? And who drove them out of business? Who drove them out of business is not even the most relevant question here. But the root cause of why they went out of business is definitely worthy of your reflection. All things being equal, if you have the time, talent, treasure, etc., under your management authority to give an idea a try, with the only downside being that you might fail, you must try the idea. You don't have a choice. Basically, people who are afraid to fail when failure is only one potential outcome have permanently closed doors that could lead to future success. Not just personal success doors, but global success doors for everyone in their enterprise, which they have no right to close. If you are the decision maker and you refuse to research any idea, much less try it, why this is so is basically irrelevant. If you and your temperament are unable or unwilling to embrace, endorse, and execute outside-the-box PMO ideas on any front, There is absolutely nothing wrong with personally holding to this position. You just shouldn't be the PMO administrator who holds back giving new ideas a try. Immediately get your name out of the PMO administrator box on the org chart. Either find another job or find a way of potential success solely because you are afraid to fail. It is what it is, meaning, if being afraid to fail is the reality of your temperament, find another job that is a better fit for you and one that actually rewards this character trait. There is no shame in that. Just don't allow yourself to become trapped in a job to your temperament mismatch and become an impediment to those who would otherwise become a fountain of ideas, but for the fact they know their boss reaches for the rejected stamp every time an outside-the-box idea is put forward and proposed. The above does not mean you green-light an idea you do not believe has any merit whatsoever, if you can articulate why. But here's the deal. You better be darn sure you are correct when you shoot down an idea before ever giving it a try. As such, your default position as the PMO administrator is must try. Insert your own idea of choice here, and also note this must-try attitude will become an integral piece of the correct PMO culture. It is also your job to foster and cultivate a free expression of all ideas. There are no negative repercussions from attempted ideas that fail, only positive praise for anyone who proposes an idea, and a one-on-one private conversation with those who never have an idea about why they never have an idea. There are no eye rolls to any proposed idea. Most importantly, you may reject an idea for explicit cause, but there is no rejection of an idea solely because you are afraid of the potential fallout from failure. In and of itself, fear of fallout is insufficient cause for rejection. You must choose inhibit PMO or enable PMO. Will you block the road or clear the road? It's as simple as this. If you cannot handle regular doses of rejection and failure, you should not be the PMO administrator. Why? Because the difference between superior and average performance often comes down to an idea that Administrator A was willing to try, but Administrator B was not. And note this well. Most ideas fail, but this fact cannot, must not, be used as an excuse to not try new ideas. I was not the originator of every great idea I implemented, but I know I would never have heard the next great idea from an employee if I wasn't willing to accept that many, if not most, ideas I try will fail. Failure comes with the job. Accept it. Pay no mind to failure, but foster a culture that is thankful for the idea anyway. Here, and only here, I will turn to Friedrich Nietzsche. He said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." End quote. Basically, if you are not failing, you are not trying hard enough. Failure is inevitable and consistently roaming in the lives of those who attempt to implement new ideas. The realm of PMO is no exception. Those who would use failure against you are sadly misguided and misinformed. Pay them no mind. Indeed, one of the culture indicators I look for in an on-site visit are stories of failure. Of course, not perpetual and systemic failure, but stories of ideas that were tried and bombed. If at this point you have to ask why I look for some signs of creative failure, why I would care about such things, you have not been picking up on the culture-building message being presented here. The science of PMO communications is dully mechanical, and I will likely delegate the mechanical aspects of PMO digital communications. In other words, sending this message content to this group on this platform at this time. Of course, be sure to use all the communications channels that are available to solicit feedback, But note this will gain you nothing or close to nothing if you do not embrace the core art of communications: what is said, how you say it, and whom you are addressing. And where does this art of PMO communications begin? Do not talk yourself or allow anyone else to talk you out of trying an idea to reach people and solicit their feedback, especially to reach those who have quit on their faith in the church. Why? A quote from Bill Gates tells us why. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. End quote. Chapter 60. People Make for Superior PMO. The chapters on hiring and firing are deliberately presented last. Why? 3 reasons. Number 1, role expansion. You must have been exposed to all the previous chapters in order to, hopefully, elevate your desire to deliver superior PMO to current and lapsed parishioners. Indeed, the very concept of delivering superior PMO to current and lapsed parishioners had to first be defined and fully explained as a new paradigm to enable a shift away from incomplete, malformed, very low, and self-limiting PMO performance expectations, and on to our new reality of what could and should be delivered through PMO. Number 2, this elevation in desire to deliver superior PMO, indeed to even define it fully and correctly, has hopefully enabled you to see the importance of redefined and revitalized PMO in your parish and the church as a whole, to such a degree you are willing to battle through the inevitable barriers, obstacles, and roadblocks you will encounter along your journey. Remember, do not start the process of building superior PMO if you might quit during the process. But at the same time, you must know that delivering superior PMO, albeit enabled by a holistic system presented here, is in the final analysis something that is only achieved by and through the employees and volunteers working in PMO. The system itself is just a tool. Number 3, in light of the fact superior PMO is, in the final analysis, something that is only achieved by and through the employees and volunteers working in PMO, it is logical that we, to the best of our ability, employ and hire superior personnel to gain superior results. Fine. Below we will discuss in detail how you achieve that goal, that we only employ and hire superior personnel. However, the final chapters bring us deeper into the very heart of the sausage-making process. So if you have heard some uncomfortable things here to this point, it might get even more uncomfortable for you now. In other words, a factory tour of this phase of sausage-making might generate some severe heartburn or nausea in some of our fellow tour members. Some might regret their decision to go on this tour at all. Why? For the same reason an unprepared viewing of how the hogs are butchered might cause discomfort. Some folks just don't have the talent for hiring, and especially the stomach for even being around firing, much less doing the firing. In this regard, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you the way things are in hiring and firing, especially firing. I'm not saying you have to enjoy it, because no rational person does enjoy firing. You just have to do your duty. If you think you might fall into this reluctant tour member category, while this is certainly understandable, indeed quite normal that you are both loath to fire someone, it is also irrelevant. How so? Why? Suppose you want to be a pilot, but are afraid of heights. Suppose you want to be a surgeon, but the sight of blood and body part trauma makes your stomach turn. Suppose you want to be a soldier, but are afraid of loud noises. The list of suppose you want, or perhaps in your case, suppose you are told PMO administrator is your new assignment. That list can be very long, but also very irrelevant. Why? because you don't have to choose to be that which you cannot be. But if you do choose it, or it chooses you, as the case may be, then as you develop the will and desire, you must also choose to do whatever it takes to overcome whatever is holding you back from taking all required actions. You can either overcome what holds you back from becoming a superior pilot, soldier, surgeon, or PMO administrator, or not. It is your call, your choice. But if you are unwilling or unable to handle all aspects of the sausage-making tour, and on our tour of PMO, this includes hiring and firing, why did you choose to go on this tour in the first place? Did you not understand that superior personnel are the paramount raw ingredients to achieving superior PMO, and sourcing the right personnel in PMO is part of your job? Perhaps the message here for some listeners is to strive to overcome their very understandable, if not also natural, desire to avoid firing someone. Regardless, it was the deliberate intent of presenting all the prior chapters that fully defined and explained the benefits and purpose of PMO via an enlarged scope of service paradigm, achieved in part through practicing a holistic system that might give those who need it a vision of your bright future with PMO, and perhaps also enough desire to endure the roughest part, in my opinion, of the PMO administrator's job and duty, the hiring and firing necessary to build superior PMO. In this regard, mediocrity, disinterest, lack of talent, or poor execution in hiring and firing will negate all your efforts in every other aspect of building superior PMO. Oh, that's not good. That's a pretty harsh reality, but no less true. Therefore, what follows must be a very necessary and candid introduction into how you as the PMO administrator achieve and maintain superior PMO, a goal that in the final analysis is always and utterly dependent upon the personnel you choose to keep and hire. In other words, sometimes the dragon wins. How so? Like this. If you master and apply everything taught in all prior chapters in this book, but are unwilling or unable for whatever reasons to master hiring and firing, you cannot by definition ever deliver consistently superior PMO. It is impossible. Thus, the dragon wins. Why? Because ultimately it is people who deliver superior PMO. Yes, through a holistic system, but if you do not have the right people working in the org chart boxes, no system can or will overcome this deficiency. The dragon wins. Our holistic system of approaching PMO simply enables employees and volunteers. This system places all personnel in the best possible position to succeed. But if you do not have superior PMO personnel in the first place, no system in the world will ever overcome that deficiency. The dragon wins. From Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. Do not fear, I am with you. Do not be anxious, I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. And from Luke chapter 1, verses 36 and 37. And behold, Elizabeth, your relative, has also conceived a son in her old age, and this is the 6th month for her who was called barren, for nothing will be impossible for God.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.